Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off.
On today's show, we are speaking with Steve Barone. Now, we've spoken with Steve before. However, it's usually having to do with UFOs filmed at La Madre Mountain or here in Las Vegas over the desert, over the Mojave. Usually that's what I'm talking to Steve Barone about. However, today's episode is going to be slightly different. By the way, this is Ryan, the original outlaw of the airwaves, bringing you another episode of Hero Paranormal Podcast. Steve Barone on this episode is going to be speaking about coronavirus, COVID-19, his travels, and what that brought about as he came from Europe here recently, and he's back in the United States, back in Nevada, back in Las Vegas, where we like to have him. Without further ado, Steve Barone, welcome to the Hero Paranormal Podcast.
Hey, Ryan. Hello. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. This is kind of a unique situation that, usually we have you on for UFOs and, getting them at the La Madre here and over Las Vegas. And you're in a unique position that you just recently kind of had to deal with this COVID-19 apocalyptic frenzy right out of the gate and right in your face.
Oh, man. It was crazy, Ryan. What happened with my wife and I is that about every 3 years we try to do a better vacation, which usually means something internationally. And so, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, we purchased everything we needed to go to Spain and go and spend. The plan was to spend 5 nights in Barcelona and then get on a plane and go just not even an hour out into the Mediterranean to Mallorca, to a beautiful city called Palma. Both of these places are places that I had visited while I was in the Navy back in the early 70s. So anyway, I was really concerned. I mean, we knew that there were, the coronavirus was a thing, but at the time, we left here on the 6th of March. We knew that it was a problem in Italy, but, it got worse and worse and worse after, we got over there. But in Spain, they weren't really showing any problems at all. So anyway, when we got to Barcelona, we checked into our hotel, and the city was thriving. I mean, all the restaurants and shops, and everything was open. It was wonderful. The weather was nice. There just wasn't really a whole lot of anything about the coronavirus. We did see some people wearing masks, but it seemed like even the locals weren't really, that concerned about it. So anyway, on our last day, on our last night, we packed up and we had our bags ready in our hotel because we knew we had to get up in the morning and go to the airport to get on a flight to go to Mallorca. 2:30 in the morning, we get a phone call from my wife's sister who lives in California saying, get to the airport quick because Trump has closed the borders. Oh my God, it just instantly panic because you're thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We can't stay here. We can't stay in Spain for 2 weeks, a month, or anything like that. We can't do it. So we got to the airport about an hour after the call and got in line at Norwegian Airlines, and there was already about 10 or 12 people in front of us. Well, Norwegian wasn't open, at 3:30 in the morning, and this line continued to grow, Ryan. Next thing you know, there's, I don't know, I would say probably 150, 200 people, mostly Americans, there wanting to go home. And they were panicking, but, everybody was in good spirits and just hoping they could get home. And so about 3 or 4 hours into waiting in line, then comes the message, okay. And, during the time that we were kind of scared, we were trying to find ways to get home now and not even deal with it. We were just going to go forego the rest of our vacation. Well, there's just nothing. I mean, people bought out all the flights and everything immediately. All over the world did this. And so, one of the flights I did find, it was sickening, Ryan. It was United Airlines, and they were wanting to charge over $5,000 a ticket for each of us to go. We don't have that kind of money. We saved up a long time to go on this trip, and that's why we went. It looked like it was safe. At the time when we left, it wasn't any worse than what we have here in Nevada, in Spain, from what we knew. And so, we were going to lose that money, and we just said, let's give it a shot. So anyway, once all of this happened, then we realized, okay, we're going to have a window to be able to get back home. Let's go to Spain. Let's go to Mallorca, Palma, and let's enjoy it while we're trying to find a way to get home. So we were basically abandoned by Norwegian Airlines, by not Hotels.com, I take that back, by Google Flights, how we got there. We were abandoned by everybody. Nobody was trying to do anything to help us. So I finally called my son in Northern California, and I told him, that it's really expensive for us to be calling internationally and being on hold for hours at a time, which we were trying to get through to these companies that ignored us and just blew us off. Even Norwegian Airlines, when we finally contacted them, they offered us $46 in reimbursement for the flight they canceled on us. And now, we're getting nervous. But anyway, my son called our senator here in Nevada, Jackie Rosen, and her staff said they were already working on it because they were getting calls from people all over the world that, live here in Nevada and wonder how they can get home. And, the one big bit of help that we got from her staff was that American Airlines is going to continue taking people home for up to 10 days. And so couldn't book anything there because it was so complicated, so much red tape, so hard getting through, being on hold for hours on the phone. So what Sue and I did is we left Mallorca 2 days early on Ryanair, and they are a really good little airline over in Spain that are their version of Southwest. Very clean, very efficient, very low price. So we got to Barcelona again, and by then now that airport is really active with people trying to get out of the country because now you have one day. This is the last day we can get out of Spain without being stuck. And thankfully, United Airlines, the ticket agent, there was nobody there. I was shocked. There was just two agents sitting there talking to each other, and we went up, and the man, I wish I would have gotten his name because this guy, Ryan, was amazing. He spent probably a half hour trying all these different combos to get us out of the country so that we didn't have to spend the night there because our hotels had been canceled. Everything was canceled. He finally came up with one where we could fly to Madrid, get off the plane, wait a couple hours, and get on another flight for London, where we would spend the night and then get up the next morning and fly out to Miami, and then from Miami to Las Vegas. And I said, book that, let's do it. Let's go shutting down. Even when you wanted to go to the bathroom, the urinals were covered, everything. Nowhere to eat. There was one little place open that had basically 2 slices of bread with some cheese and bologna in between. And so for 20 euros, my wife and I got 2 sandwiches. 20 euros, that's like $23 for 2 nasty sandwiches, but that's all we had to eat. So when it came time to get on the airplane, there's a bunch of people that are getting out that are going probably all over, but it seemed like most of them were British. And then there were some other European nationals that were trying to get out of there as well. Well, they have all these zones where you line up, and, we were in like zone 5, I think it was, or zone 4. It's just a loading thing. Well, anyway, it was unbelievable. People were panicking, and everybody had assigned seating, and there was no reason to panic, but they were pushing and shoving and crowding in front of us in line to where, I'm a mellow guy, that I had to tell one man, dude, this is my wife. If you don't mind not shoving to try to get in front of me, I would like to board the plane with my wife. We had about 8 or 9 people just crowded their way in front of us. And so, finally we got on the plane and got to London, where we spent the night. And that was great. London was still wide open, but we didn't go into town. We got the closest hotel to the airport just to get some sleep, have a beer or whatever, have a stiff drink and dinner, because we couldn't eat anywhere, and get up in the morning early and get back to Heathrow and go. So that's what we did. And they, when we got to Heathrow, it's the same situation again. There's almost the same plane leaving London for Miami, but this time almost everybody on that plane were Americans or people going back to the Caribbean. And it couldn't be a different scenario. People were friendly, they were generous, they weren't rude, they weren't pushy. We were all just elated to be on that plane, to be getting out of the country, because the next day, England was going to close their borders. So we were among the last people to get out of Spain and the last ones to get out of England. And so, once we got to Miami, I was worried because we only had about a 2.5-hour connection to get to Las Vegas, but we knew we were okay, even if we had to stay there overnight, because we were in America. And fortunately, Miami had worked out all these problems they had initially with testing people coming off of the plane. There really wasn't any test. What you did is they gave these questionnaires that were real simple and basic, asking about, coughing and temperatures and things like that. Have you been to any other, have you been to China? Have you, done this sort of thing? And so 20 people at a time, we deplaned, and they had, I don't know if it was doctors or medical professionals with masks and everything on it at the gate, one at a time, taking people out of these groups of 20 and just asking them a few questions and probably observing you to see if you looked like you had any problems. Because, of course, that these tests weren't available. There was no way they could test us. I mean, they probably could have taken our temperatures, but they didn't do that because they have all these planes coming back and people are piling up, coming back into Miami. So we got to our person, and, we're great. I mean, Sue and I, we're always careful that way. We have hand sanitizer in the car and in Sue's purse. And we know, I just don't like catching colds. So, they say the average person gets 4 colds a year. Well, I only get 1 usually, but it's all 4 of them combined. So I wash my hands all the time. I use hand sanitizer. I don't get into anybody's airspace to where they're breathing on me or anything. And Sue and I were healthy all along. We're still healthy, but we're self-isolating just to make sure that if there was any problem, that we're not going to contaminate anybody else. But yeah, so we talked to that person, and then a little further down the way, you're walking a gauntlet of about 10 or 15 other people that were with Homeland Security or Homeland, whatever. And they're just basically eyeballing everybody that's coming through in these groups of 20. And then we went to customs, and that went real easy. And we're starting to get kind of some confidence that maybe we're going to make our Nevada flight. But then we had to forced to go through security again. And now they only have 2 stations open for all of these flights that are arriving, and the line is huge. And at the last moment, they finally opened another station. We got through and got to our gate 20 minutes before they started boarding. Just enough time to call people who said we're actually going to be able to get home. So we got home a little after 11 p.m. On the night of the 16th. And here we are, Ryan. So that was it in a nutshell. But yeah, we had Mallorca to ourselves, never saw any other Americans there at all. And it was open. It didn't start closing until we left. I mean, there were some places closed, but we could go to restaurants. We couldn't go into any tourist attractions. But anyway, oh man, it was crazy. And it's just so scary thinking that, there's a possibility that you would get stuck in a foreign country for 15 days, 30 days, who knows? And all we wanted to do was get home. So here we are.
Man, it was pretty wild seeing your images of, enjoying Spain. And I'm thinking, oh, this is perfect. Where else would you rather be? And then I heard, borders closing, like you said, and then the UK closing. And it seemed like your window, you were just barely making it through each window. It had to be pretty spooky.
It was really spooky, and it's so disappointing to know that, like, Google Flights, Norwegian Air, I mean, there were group after group, Kiwi.com, who had part to do with these flights. We had contacted them days ahead, and they blew us off, Ryan. And I basically told this guy, dude, we are in a bad situation here. We have found flights. We need you to book these flights for us. They never did it. So I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm not the kind of person to do this, but now that we have all this time where we're self-isolating here, we're going to look into going after these companies for abandoning us, American citizens who they took our money to get us over there, but they did nothing to help us get back. And I just want everybody to know, whoever's listening to your show right now, if you fly out of the country, I highly, highly recommend American Airlines. They bent over backward to help us. And by the way, when we went to Barcelona and got those new flights, they took our old flights, which they're not getting paid for, and reissued new tickets for us without gouging us. They did not gouge us at all. They treated us like kings when we were on the airplane. And they're going to be furloughed. These people are losing their jobs they don't know how long. They're being furloughed because we were asking them questions. They fed us. I mean, they were wonderful. United Airlines, oh my God, charging people over $5,000 each to get out of a country when you're at risk of dying. I mean, Jesus criminy. That was amazing. I just can't believe anyone would do that.
That's pretty low. That's pretty low as far as I'm concerned. You shouldn't gouge when you're able to. You should be there to help, and it sounds like some were and some weren't. And this kind of like brings out the worst in people. I don't know if you've had a chance to go to like your local grocer who might be the same as mine, but it's pretty crazy what's going on out there, Steve.
Well, you and I probably have the same one. I went to Albertsons yesterday because when we left, we knew we were going to be gone for 12 days. And so I discarded everything that could go rotten or go bad. So that meant all of our vegetables and stuff got thrown away, whatever we had left and hadn't used up. Albertsons had people busting their butts, working overtime, keeping things on the shelves, even though a lot of things were gone. But I was able to go and get groceries. Wasn't really that busy. I ran into a gentleman in line who said he just came there from Costco. He said Albertson has way more, than Costco. He was happy to see that we were able to get groceries. And so I got some, fruits and vegetables. I got things that we would need. Of course, there was things that you wanted that you couldn't get, but they were busting their butts to try to keep the shelves stocked. And on the bright side, I have to say that other than Madrid, where we ran into this huge group of panicky people that were pushing and shoving, trying to get onto the airplane, not Americans either, by the way. And we were trying to be really polite, but we ran into a lot of great people everywhere. And the Spaniards, they were fantastic. They weren't freaked out. They weren't panicking. I'm sure they probably are now, because at the time, that it just wasn't. There were no statistics showing that it was a real big problem there. But yeah, this will be our second day home now, and Sue and I have zero symptoms, and we're doing fine. But we want to make sure that we don't infect anybody if we do, because I heard that anywhere from 2 days to 14 days it takes for some of these symptoms to start showing up. But we feel fabulous. We ate well. We ate lots of fresh seafood, a lot of nice salads and things like that. And we're back. And, I'm not making light of anything. I mean, I did post some pictures for people with some nice soothing music just to get their minds off of this, because this is huge and this is going to be going on for a long, long time.
It sure seems like it's going to be going on for a long time, and we're glad to have you back. Yeah, we have the same corner store grocer, and I agree with you. It is much better to just go there than these big box stores like Costco and stuff, because I literally walked in to Costco and walked right out. It's much better to go to the other place, and it's just more, casual, and like you said, some stuff isn't there, but those guys are working their tails off there at that Albertsons. They're doing great, in my opinion.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and Ryan, while we were over there, of course, we had, Wi-Fi in our hotel and everywhere. And my wife showed me a video of one Costco. I don't think it was here. It was in some other city. But they opened the doors, and it was like the Indianapolis 500. Here comes people with carts running to hoard toilet paper or anything else they figured they needed it, not caring about anybody else. And that just blows me away. I mean, you know what? That's what's wrong with our culture. We need to take care of each other, and we need to share. If your neighbor needs something, you need to be helping your neighbor. And you can help them, you need to be doing that. And, it's like getting on that airplane. Just night and day difference between people trying to get, to London and then people trying to get to America. I'm proud of our fellow countrymen, because it was all, not happy-go-lucky, but it was friendly, sharing stories, and just being overjoyed to know that we are all going home, no matter what we faced in Miami.
Yeah, it's like some people just forget to be human, and that's like the most important thing. So it's good to have, people like yourself back, and I know that there's probably other Americans that are away and haven't been able to get back. And I know of one in particular, and it's one of those situations where these are serious times, and who knows how long this is going to go on for.
Well, Well, I was watching CNN this morning, and there's some estimate that this could go all the way into the end of the summer. I think for us, Ryan, though, living where we do, is that when it starts getting hot here, that's going to be an advantage for us, because apparently this virus, at least that's what some are saying, doesn't like heat very much. And, as you see, we've had one death here in Nevada, and I think what I found this morning, at least, and I'm sure this is going to change, but I don't think there's more than 60 people that are infected here. And of course, they're all seem to be more related to the tourist industry and out on the Strip. So, I think our state's doing the right thing, but it's devastating what it's doing to the economy, to people, like you and I don't know about you, but my wife and I always saved money. We always invested. And right now our investments are just tanking in a huge way. But I'm not going to worry about it because, we will make a comeback, and hopefully it'll be a strong one. And hopefully this will be something that gets people to start being united again and, not being so political. I tried to start doing that a long time ago, as you can tell by my YouTube channel and everything, is we don't talk about any of that stuff, and I don't bring up politics or religion at all. I want to go back to a day where we were all friends, no matter who you were, and maybe this will help most of us. It won't help all of us because, there's always going to be those people who they just don't care about anybody else.
Yeah, I hope it's a time that brings people together, and I think it has in a way. It's one of those times that lets people's color shine, and I agree with you. It's no time to be political, and it's kind of odd that, a lot of these votes are still, voting states are still going forward with that. I thought they would back down from that, but I understand. But yeah, I'm with you. This is like a time to just battle what's at hand.
Yeah. In terms of the voting, I wish they would do it where some of the states do it. You vote by mail. You can mail your vote in. And who knows? I mean, there's technology. I come from high-tech background. I know that there's technology that could get every person in the United States that's eligible to vote and do something where they could vote online and have it work and be something that is accurate. But we're not there yet. So, and I'm not even going to worry about that right now. But, my major concern now is I hope that America's taking this seriously. I see that there's a poll online or on television that some of the Americans don't think it's even real, which I don't get. It's very real.
Yeah, you've been kind of in the belly of the beast, and I know a lot of people. I spoke with some neighbors of mine that said, we're not changing anything. We're still eating out at restaurants, and well, that's going to change, because of our governor, but, we've actually kind of been ordered to non-essential businesses should close, and a lot like other states, and I think the reality is something is definitely going on.
Oh, yeah. The coronavirus, even before that, I was aware of, I spent a month in Malaysia back in 1997, and it was really interesting. The people there were amazing. It's multicultural, just like here in the United States. They have basically 4 different main cultures there, which are the Malaysians, there's Chinese, there's Hindis, and there's Muslims. So they have this saying that they could have a major, beautiful, different meal for every day of the year, which is true because they use everything. But I know that in China, there's these unsanitary places where they keep a lot of these animals in horrific conditions where these viruses can develop. And, it just takes one person that gets this virus from an animal to go out into the public and pass it on to somebody else. And it's just like that old thing when you take, the number 1 and double it, and then double 2 and 4 and 8 and 16. It doesn't take long before it's in the millions. And I think that's what's happened. And, we just really weren't that well prepared for it. And I hope that we are catching it in time, but I'm afraid that maybe we didn't do enough early on.
I'm with you. I think more could have been done. And I think one good thing from all of this, Steve, is what you said. There's hopefully going to be some changes as far as that, even in China, as far as this open air animal trade and the basically no holds barred before. Hopefully there's some changes with the animal cruelty and the conditions, but it just goes to show we're so close all the time. We think we're so tough with our military and all our defenses, and we're so close to total annihilation at any time.
We're going to try to be creative here and see what kind of things that we can find to do here in the home. My wife is, she's a quilter, and I said, I hope you have a lot of fabric, and maybe you can, quilt or read or do something. And I'm going to start going backwards through videos and see if I can find things that I haven't posted that people might be interested in that could get their mind off of this and give them just a little bit of relief. I did that with my photos and made a little slideshow that I put up today, and immediately some guy is accusing me of not caring. And I tried. The guy didn't understand. I was like you say, in the belly of the beast. I'm doing this to try to give some people relief. I'm not doing this trying to say, "Oh, look at me, I was in Spain." That's not who I am. I'm just trying to make people smile a little bit if I can, just even if it's only for a minute.
Amen. And we're glad you're back. We're glad you're safe and back where you belong, and you're doing the stuff that can kind of distract people from this for a minute. I hope to talk to you soon, and I thank you for coming on the podcast so recent after your kind of tragic situation. But it's good to have you back, Steve. Can't wait to talk again.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, Ryan. Anytime, my friend. And I hope that all the people that follow me start listening to you, because our last get together was fantastic. And the people that I did get to listen to that podcast were very impressed with you. And I told them they're going to fall in love with you. So thank you so much, my friend. Stay safe. I know we're probably only a couple of miles apart right now, and we'll get together when things are better.
Sounds great, Steve. All the best, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Barone, fresh out of the belly of the beast, traveling from Europe and barely making it back home in the nick of time. I think we all need to be very safe right now. We all need to be cognizant and aware of what's going on around us. And I know that a lot of my neighbors, friends, family members, etc., have been asked to work at home. So if you can, please do that. Do a little self-isolation like Steve is doing. You might be the reason someone else doesn't catch this. Until next time, keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Look.
Visine for the third eye. It's levels and you can catch me where the birds fly. Blast off in the time machine, blowing on that light green straight lima beams. Beezy, take it easy what they tell me. Boy, I'm so deep, not even Lucifer can help me. And I'm going so hard, not even Lucifer can stop. I ain't with this pimping, I ain't with that simping. Can't you see we on a mission, baby?
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like it need Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like it need Visine. Blast off.